Welcome back to Between the Lines. My guest on the program this evening is Stephen Dale. I have here a copy of Stephen's book, Bouncing Back When You Hit Rock Bottom. That day at Phillip Island, you actually did hit rock bottom, Stephen. What do you remember about coming to? Because you fell off the cliff.
I fell off the cliff. I skidded until the rocks sort of got in the way, and then I launched off 15, 20 metres, bouncing down the cliff. When I came to, obviously, I had very serious head injuries and a dislocated spine from my hips. So it was a long time until I knew what was going on and where I was and why I was there and what had happened.
Just trying to get your thought processes straight.
My brain just didn't want to do any remembering or any thinking or any processing. It just wanted to keep me alive.
Yeah. So what happens next? What do you remember?
Well, what I remember first of all, and actually all of my memories for the first couple of weeks after I come out of my coma is, well, obviously hallucinations and nightmares, and my brain just sort of took me down very dark paths where everything, no matter what my situation was in my dream, I was going to fall or I was falling. The biggest memory that I have of those dreams, and I do have very clear memory of those hallucinations even though it's all these years later, is that when I fell, I landed. And usually they say you never land, you never die in your...
You wake up before that happens,
yeah, but each and every one of them was me splat, was me hitting something. I would fall out of a plane or fall out of an eternal staircase and just fall out of a great height, or I'd be on a boat and I'd be sailing down the river and all of a sudden all the sea would disappear and I would look down and it would be a kilometre until the bottom of the ocean. So I'd fall off and I'd just look at this earth flying at me and hitting every single time it was hitting, which is as terrible as it sounds. And I guess just reliving some part of the accident for such a long period of time.
Because I want to try and set the picture of where you were emotionally and mentally coming up to that point. We sort of touched on it briefly, that you experienced a lot of bullying at school, a lot of problems trying to understand who you were and what your identity was and how you fitted in with life, which led to your problems with alcohol and drug and trying to be the life of the party and everything else. And all of a sudden you find yourself in this situation in a hospital with these terrible repressed memories coming through, these emotions that you hadn't previously been able to deal with or even want to face up to be trying to deal with that in a coma under the influence of strong painkillers in hospital must have been a horrifying experience.
Well, I guess the best thing of all that is that I had no memory of the past for a long period of time. So even though that was still in there, it seems that my brain said, okay, we'll deal with that later.
Put that aside.
But right now, we've got to do this. Right now, we've got to keep me alive. But it wasn't just all those issues that you spoke about, something that I had developed, and it started off as a safety mechanism, but once again, all habits eventually will become a way of life, was the amount of lying that I did to try and cover everything and being scared that all the things that I said to people were going to get me in trouble in one way or another. So you tend to make up a false world.
And one lie needs another lie.
That's right, and with every group, you've got a different set of stories that each group knows about you, and you spend a lot of your time, especially at birthday parties, trying to keep people apart, hoping that they won't compare notes. Whereas one of the things that I came to when I eventually got my broken brain together in some form, there was no more room for any of those. I guess it was one of the moments where you think, okay, well, the truth is enough. And just dealing with that. And because I had that for such a long period of time, that old desire that I had to try and build myself up to other people in whatever it was that I said, that habit had well and truly been broken. So it was a blessing in so many ways, but that was one of the ways, is that by the time I eventually got out of hospital and started to try and get back into society in some way, I was in touch with reality, or at least my reality. There's no room for any of that, because I had enough trouble living the life that I was living, let alone trying to live 10 others at once.
Tell me about your recovery process. A long, difficult sort of recovery and therapy to get back on your feet, literally.
Therapy, I would like to say it's over, but you don't have those sort of injuries and say that, it's over.
The doctors would regard you as having a catastrophic brain injury.
Yes, I had
possibly never recover.
Very serious head injury with some very serious repercussions. And one of the issues that I had was a thing that was called cognitive dysfunction, which basically means that your brain doesn't want to have to figure anything out. So it starts to shut down your 5 senses so that you're not aware of anything that the brain's got to sort out.
Yeah, okay.
Which led to a major problem with speaking and reading and writing. And that took me many years to overcome. And having to deal with that, trying to get back into life, because all of those things that I'd once taken for granted, like reading and writing and speaking and dressing myself, all of those things, when all those things are taken away, your desire to have them back is that you just become a very willing participant. You will do whatever needs to be done for as long as it needs to be done to get back to that spot and then start again. And my recovery was learning how to read, write and speak and all those things, as well as trying to get work that I couldn't get a job because I had no resume, I had no qualifications, and by that time I was in my late 20s and early 30s.
And you're basically having to relearn all those skills.
Having to relearn all of those things, but having to deal with living with a lot of physical pain, and that hinders you, especially when it's a back pain. I mean, my spine was obviously disconnected and reconnected, refused, or I prefer the word welded, because that's exactly what they did. And with my major head injuries, and I lost a lot of weight. I lost over 40 kilograms of weight and all of these things. So trying to figure out how I was going to be able to learn all of these things. Number one, when I couldn't be taught because of the cognitive dysfunction problem with receiving information. So learning how to do these things with the fact that you can't be taught and your body is saying, you're not moving, you're not doing this, this isn't happening. The pain, especially head pain and back pain, tends to take over your body. Anybody who's had back pain will know that you don't do anything without your back understanding and recognising that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. You can't even breathe deeply. So all of those issues for probably the first 5 to 6 years was me trying to figure out how I'm going to live my life and recover, but with all of these, I guess, burdens, all of these traumas to have to deal with, as well as the fact that I continue to suffer nightmares for a long period of time. And the fact that most of my friends were getting married, going overseas on holidays, buying BMWs, getting a promotion at work, all these things while I was at home learning how to read and write again, or how to clean my teeth, whatever it was, having to deal with that stress and that side of it, all of these things just became a real, I guess, my love of sport and the fact that sport meant a lot to me. The whole issue simply became, I'm in a game and I got a lot of adversaries, but I still want to score that try. And I still want to kick that goal. Still want to hit that six. All these analogies you want to use, but I started to think along those routes. What have I got to do to score a try when I've got 50 guys wanting to tackle me? And that was, you start to figure out ways mentally of how you can overcome these things. And that happens before you physically overcome anything. That's one of the things that I learned, is that if I could create a situation for myself and see myself succeeding despite these obstacles, then my body just eventually said, yeah, okay. Well,
your body would fall in line.
We'll go along. We'll go along with that.
Yeah, okay. My guest on the program this evening is Stephen Dale. You're watching Between the Lines, and I'm Sean Bindley. We'll be back with more after the break.